We'll start with an opening statement from Coach Skin, take questions for the student athletes, and then questions for Coach. Coach?
First, I have to apologize because my voice box is clearly completely gone, so work with me here. I expected a phenomenal basketball game. I think VCU is a phenomenal program. They've showed it all season long. This thing came down to the wire, which is what I expected. I knew it was going to be a 1 or 2 possession game down the stretch. That was a great college basketball game. Credit to them. Congratulations to them. But more importantly, I think that just showed to you how strong this league is and how deserving George Mason is for an NCAA tournament bid. 26-win season, 15-3 in conference. You get to the final game. You've won 26 out of your last 29 games. It's tough. It's tough, and especially for my seniors, guys that, this is their last opportunity. You almost have to be flawless in this league to make it to the NCAA tournament. I remember the A-10 when, we're getting 2, 3, 4 teams in there, and I can't remember the last time a team won 26 games, essentially won 17 conference games, and is not in the conversation. It's unfortunate, but again, these guys have competed all season long. I'm proud of them, and it came down to, that last shot, a couple possessions. We made a couple mistakes that, I just think we wanted it so much. The poise variable in certain situations down the stretch, it just kind of came back to kill us. But I'm proud of these guys, and nevertheless, we still have some more basketball to play.
Thank you, Coach. We'll take questions for Jalen and Darius. If you have a question, we'll get you the mic. Please state your name and affiliation and who the question is directed to. We'll start with Patrick.
Darius Maddox, Patrick Stevens with the Washington Post. As you're watching that shot there and with 2 seconds to go, how good did it look from your vantage point?
Zach's a great shooter. He puts in a lot of time on his jumper and puts in a lot of hours. I thought it was good just like the rest of us, but, didn't go in.
Jalen, when you kind of look at the way they were protecting the rim today, just how much of a difficulty was that for you guys not being able to generate as much as you normally might around the basket?
Our offense, we like to get inside the paint. We like to shoot free throws. And, they protected the rim well today. So, that led to their offensive leakouts and, transition buckets. So it bothered us.
And Darius, just when you kind of look at how close this team came to getting it done, just what are kind of your feelings at this point as you try to process everything?
It's so soon. Our guys show up every day. They work hard. They put in extra work. We compete. We win ball games. So it's tough, and it's really early to say anything, honestly.
Questions? Second row in the middle.
Brian Hyam, Fourth Estate, Darius, Jalen. These championship games come down to the smallest of details, and at the end of the game, hindsight can always be 20/20. How do you compartmentalize knowing what you could have controlled and what you can't, and how do you, not beat yourself up over that?
We know it was going to be a long game, so we only could control what we can control. So turn the ball over, making mistakes. I feel like today, as a team perspective, nobody really got frustrated at each other today. We told each other next play after next play, and just one step at a time to get us back in the game.
And for both of y'all, what is going to stand out as your most memorable moment, or what are you going to remember most about your time at Mason?
Really every moment. Right now it's just really early to think about all of that, especially after a loss, but just being in the locker room with the guys, practice, pregame, every moment is going to be memorable for me.
And just to piggyback off Darius, just the whole season, you really can't pick out a great moment. We had so much, so just playing this season, getting to this game. So, yeah.
Go to Jake standing on the platform.
Yeah, guys, Jake Rom, DC News Now. You kind of mentioned a little bit about just kind of looking back on the incredible season you guys had. It's tough thinking about it now, but just knowing that there's still a possibility that you guys can play some sort of postseason ball, just have you guys taken a thought or a consideration about that yet?
it's kind of too early to tell what we're gonna do now. But the message is to our guys, keep our heads up. Obviously, like you said, we're gonna play some type of postseason basketball. So just staying in the gym and just staying locked in.
And to follow up, what can you say about Mason Nation and what they were able to do, not just today in a championship game where VCU also kind of brought their crowd as well, but over the past 3 days having their back?
I appreciate them personally because at the beginning of the season, it was a little shaky, it was a little rocky. But once we got into the knees of competing, playing hard and actually winning, they showed up. And still after a loss, they still came to support. So I respect them and, I appreciate them as well.
Go second row in the middle. Coming the other way.
Joe Szymanski, Giant Killer. Question to either of you two. This team has very clearly gotten very close, and you guys as a unit have been some of the best chemistry I've seen from a Mason team in a while. Talk about just the relationship with your teammates this year and how that has helped you guys throughout this whole season.
Going in, realistically, I didn't know how the relationship was going to be, with these guys. We still had like 5 returners, including myself, and the rest was a brand new team. But with that being said, we thugged it out. We're good collectively. We hang out with each other every day. So that just built a great camaraderie leading up to this game.
Go to Dave standing up.
Dave Preston, WTOP Radio here in Washington. Darius, you guys hit 7 to 12 from three-point range in the second half. What kind of let things develop where you guys were able to make them pay from outside?
Really just ball movement. Any shooter can agree that, when the ball moves and you get guys in rotation, you get easier shots. It's simple as that.
And a question for Jalen. How physical was it inside? It's one of those things where you hope that VCU doesn't have to play until Friday because it was really a tough one in there.
It was a physical game. We knew that going in, it was going to be a physical game, but we just had to withstand the storm and play through it.
Any further questions for the student athletes? Take one more.
Brian by George. Both of you were on the all-tournament team. I want to know how you feel about that. Is that a goal you had before this tournament?
It's a great accomplishment for sure. But going in, it's just speaking for me and him, we just love the game. We love to play basketball. We don't play for that. We play for the game, and we play to win, so we appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, guys. You're good to go. Questions for Coach? Start with Patrick.
Tony, how do you kind of sum up just how close this group got to getting where you wanted to go?
Yeah, I mean, we saw it. We saw the same game. We watched the same game. I'm not sure you could have asked for a more textbook ending. I would have preferred if it was maybe, a 2-point game. But we made some silly mistakes down the stretch. I thought Jared's contest he was right in his spot, and he probably just needed to be a little bit more just vertical, hands to heaven. And maybe he doesn't get that call, but that was, again, maybe we get a stop, and to end the first half, tip in. All those things come back to bite you in this game, and I would have loved if we could have if you take 1 or 2 possessions away on both ends. I think Woody's traffic pass, gave them the ball right back. All those little things, it bites you, especially against a good team like VCU, who's going to make you pay for it. But at the end of the day, you couldn't have asked for, a better finish. We had a chance. We had the opportunity. Only one team can win, and obviously VCU got the best of that tonight.
How remarkable is it in your mind? You guys were 6 of 26 on layups tonight and were in it right to the very end. I know that was obviously a challenge inside, but what do you kind of make heads or tails of that from?
Yeah, I'm not going to go there. I thought it was a physical game. It's on paper that Jalen Haynes is the best big in our league, and I don't care how big and physical he looks when he gets hit. It's a foul. And again, a guy that's shooting 65, 70% from the field was 5 of 14 tonight. I thought we made some bonehead just decisions, even in traffic, when we could have been easier, and just kind of left points on the board. But, it's unfortunate because I got to figure out a way to make sure that I protect my guys. I ask them to do this, I ask them to do that. When they do it, sometimes it just looks like I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And so it's unfortunate, but that's how the game goes.
Go to Marcus.
Hey, Coach, despite the loss, when you go back to that last play, just what does it say about the staff and the players that you get an unbalanced floor and make every correct decision to get that open three-point shot, just about the team and about how well they are prepared in these situations?
Yeah, I got to credit Jalen Haynes. There's not a lot of time your five-man gets a rebound or gets an outlet, pushes it up the floor in traffic in this type of chaos of a moment, and finds one of your best three-point shooters for a shot, knowing we're down 3. I don't think there could have been a better decision there. And again, that's just kind of who these guys are when it comes down to it. We're not a team that necessarily takes care of the ball, but down the stretch we seem to find ways and make good decisions that puts us in a good spot. Again, we had 11 turnovers tonight. They had 16, and there's a little bit of a discrepancy somewhere in here. I don't know how you turn the ball over 16 times, and again, it's a tough one. Down the stretch there.
And as a coach, how do you contain the frustration? Throughout the game, it's obvious there were times there was frustration on the floor with some of the physicality. Just how in the moment do you control not only the players but control the staff to keep things in front of you that are important?
Yeah, I think you have to pick and choose your battles. And, I'm a competitor. I'm grown as a coach, but I still have the tenacity that my team has and the identity that I expect them to have. And so I've got to have my poise as well. I only got one technical foul this year, and I don't think I should have got it. And, anytime you're able to keep that poise, I think these guys get it. They understood the assignment. They wanted it just as bad as everyone in the gym and obviously our staff and the university. But like I said, man, it's a one-possession game down the stretch. I don't even know how they got free throws down there with .5. I don't know what happened at that point, to be honest with you. So as I look at this score sheet and I see a 5-point game, I still got to go back and look at that. But, again, I thought these guys did everything possible. We got down 8 at halftime. It's hard to work that back against a VCU team who's so physically imposing. And but we battled. We were right there. And, they led for pretty much the whole game, and we were right there. But it's a great college basketball game, man, but only one person can, walk away with the victory.
Go on the platform in the back.
Coach, you've put a very impressive resume together for the NCAA committee to look at. What would you circle or highlight to make sure they see when they're making their selections coming up in a few minutes?
Well, I honestly, and I spent a lot of time, looking at certain things, and my staff does as well. I'd love to know when the last time an A-10 team won 26 games and did not get in the NCAA tournament. Maybe you guys can help me out here. Again, 15 conference wins, and for it to come down to the wire in a championship game from a resume standpoint, yeah, I don't know. I don't have the answers, clearly, because I think this is an NCAA tournament team. And credit to VCU. I think that's a team that, I wouldn't want to be playing them in the NCAA tournament. And for us to be, sharing the title of this conference, yeah, I'm lost on that because I think we should be playing on Thursday or Friday.
Go second row in the middle.
Coach, I remember asking you after the St. Joe's game at Eagle Bank about the parallels between your team in 06 and the current team, and you got a bit annoyed at me because it can be a bit redundant.
Yeah.
But the thing that stood out to me was that you talked about how you want these players to write their own story. As a coach, what does that story mean to you, regardless of the result tonight?
Means a lot. These guys have been wearing the Team 59, hashtag Team 59. It's an idea I had to start the year because I thought we were going to be pretty good and I thought we could make some history. And I wanted to separate their story from ours. All the time I get asked about the Final Four. And it was a great thing we did. but it's 19 years later, and I've got to be able to lead these guys, but also separate that history, because I think these guys, they did something special as well, and those are the memories that I want them to be able to live with, want their families to be able to live with. They did something we did not do, even though we went to the Final Four. We didn't win our league. We didn't win 12 straight. And even with a Final Four run, it was only 27 games. We're one win away from having more wins in school history, and we're going to play basketball at some point in this postseason. I expect us to continue to play to earn some more wins, but these guys deserve it. They stay committed to it, and I think they should be playing in the NCAA tournament so they can write their own story, because I think they can beat anybody in any place and anywhere. We did it at Dayton. We did it at St. Bonaventure. We did it at St. Louis, the toughest places to play in our league, and yet we're having the same conversation.
And I just wanted to ask you about, just in general, how do you see the season as a whole? And obviously, you're just a coach; you can't be out there on the floor. But what's it like to be at the helm of a team that not only has so much success but is so close?
Yeah, I think it's a blessing. I think that blessing started with, our leadership. When Dr. Washington gave me the opportunity to take this job, the support and the vision that, our athletic director, Marvin Lewis, also gives me every day. It makes my job easier to be able to go out there and, just lead these young men. I'm young enough to get out there and practice and, maybe be a little bit too tenacious, but these guys feed off of it. My staff is phenomenal with the way they help these guys prepare. And it's a major, major piece of why we're successful. These things just don't happen just because it happens. You've got to grind it out every single day. And, year one was pretty successful given the circumstances of a roster we had to put together in such a short time. And then we doubled down on it with this roster. It's going to be a challenge every single year because we know the ebbs and flows of the portal. However, I think it's safe to say that George Mason is in a good spot. And, we've still got a lot of basketball to play, and I'm going to graduate a bunch of seniors. And so if anybody's watching this press conference, come to George Mason. I'm going to let you boogie, and we're going to do some great things.
Dave.
Tony, Max Shulga had 12 of his 18 points in the second half. Well, what was the approach today in trying to contain him, and how difficult is it to keep a guy like that in?
You're trying to get me in trouble, ain't you? I mean, Max Shulga is the best player in our league. And night in and night out, he makes it happen in different ways. I think for the most part, Jared did a good job on him. But, when you're 6'5" and you can do so many different things, he's a willing passer, he defends, he rebounds, he makes tough shots, he makes smart plays. He doesn't really turn the basketball over. And when a guy like that is on the floor for 37 minutes, you're in a good spot. That's why VCU is a good team. I thought initially I was trying to find ways to kind of put him in the box a little bit and get in some foul trouble, because if he sits and only plays 28 minutes, that's a different team. It didn't work because he played 36 minutes. But, it's a big reason why they're, as good as they are, and he's a phenomenal player.
We'll take one last one for Coach in the back.
Matt Moderno, Believe in DMV Hoops. Tony, at some point tonight, Jared hit a three, Woody hit a three, Darius came back down later, hit a three. What's it mean to do this with DMV guys that you got to transfer back home and to have them do this, in their backyard?
It means the world, to me as a DC guy. Again, I laugh about it because all those guys said no to me at one point because I recruited all of them. And, it's just a full circle of basketball. It's hard to say no to a coach when you, didn't say, when you said no to him the first time and you want to be successful. And, that's just what the brand of DMV does. These guys are well coached in high school. They're well coached in AAU. Any kid that goes away and then, for whatever reason, ends up in the portal that fits George Mason, we're going to have a chance to get them on the bounce back, and that's what happened with Woody. That's what happened with Darius and obviously Jared as well. And so those guys are the heart and soul of this thing. They did it for us in year one and doubled down for it in year two. I wish we could have rewarded them with an NCAA tournament opportunity, but nevertheless, they're going to be, those guys are family, and, they'll be a part of this thing for a very, very long time.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks, Tony. VCU head coach Ryan Odom and student athletes Jack Clark, who was named the most outstanding player of the championship, and Max Scholga. We'll start with an opening statement from Coach Odom, take questions for the student athletes, and then questions for Coach.
Yeah, I want to start out just talking about George Mason and Coach Skin and his staff and the season that they've had so far. Obviously, we were in this position last season, and it really hurts. It hurts when you get this far. Certainly they had a better year than we did last year in regular season play, and to win a share of the conference championship in his second season, and then advance to the finals and really test us the way that they did throughout the game. And you watch them throughout the season, they found ways to win over and over and over again, and they were just battle tested, and they believed in one another, and certainly we're a really, really good basketball team, and one deserving, of playing in the NCAA tournament, no doubt. And we'll just have to see, how that shakes out, in the next, 4 or 5 hours. But anybody that watched that game tonight, it's easy to tell. It was a high level. Baskets were really hard to come by, and finding a way to score a bucket was not easy for either team. And some might say it wasn't pretty, but it was very physical. It was very tough. Both teams, the individuals had to put their hard hats on and figure out, how they're going to get to the next play and stay together. And I think we had a solid first half, and we're able to kind of get a little bit of a lead there going into halftime. The tip in by Max was huge for us going into half, and then we had the ball coming out of half, and they did a really good job of guarding the basketball and staying in front of us and putting pressure on Max. They were on him, the entire game, and that's not easy to play against. Our other guys did a nice job. Our big guys, played excellent defense and limited, some easy baskets around the rim. They got some stops right in a row, and they're really good in transition. They found some threes, in transition and put some major game pressure on us, and we had to respond. And, again, in the timeout, the guys were, confident in themselves and confident in their teammates that we would figure out a way to get it done. And, this game certainly tested us in a lot of ways. But this game for us started a year ago with the work that these guys put in, from that moment, to now, just to earn the right to have a chance to play in this game. I couldn't be more proud of these young men.
Thank you, Coach. We'll take questions for Jack and Max. We'll start here in the front.
Ty Wilson, Commonwealth Times. Jack, throughout the season, after games, when you would come to the press conference room, you would talk about how Coach would tell you to keep shooting on days when you don't have the best shooting night. How can you talk about your just ascension to becoming the most outstanding player and being able to have back-to-back shooting performances as you did?
Oh, I give all the credit to my teammates and my coaches. They always instilled confidence in me throughout the year, whether I was shooting bad or shooting well. They always told me keep shooting, stay in the gym, before practice, after practice, get shots up. And in the biggest moments here in the championship, it came out and showed. And my teammates also, they draw a lot of attention. So, just getting in the windows, getting good open looks and good shots, they were falling, so that was good for us tonight.
Stay in the first row.
And Max, coming out of a timeout, you had a really great three that kept the momentum going forward for y'all as they were starting to creep back. How has your shot been able to fall a little better as the tournament has gone on?
At the end of the day, you just gotta keep shooting the shots that are there, not pass up any looks just because you missed some before, and just take the shots that are there. I'm not really I never really thought of it I never really think about what I how many shots I missed before, or whatever. Just take the shots that are there, and like everybody works on them enough to believe in each other's in each other's capabilities with shooting the ball, and it feels like the next one is gonna go in every time.
Go to Dave, standing up in the back.
Dave Preston, WTOP Radio here in Washington. Question for both of you guys. What the feeling of punching your ticket to the NCAA tournament? How exciting is that, and what does it mean to get to the big dance for each of you guys?
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, get not only punching our ticket to March Madness, but winning a championship in our league. It's a great feeling. So it's unbelievable for us.
Oh, same question. Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing feeling, especially of coming up short last year, and knowing how close we were last year to doing the same thing. Yeah, we've talked about this all year. This was our goal the whole year long, and yeah, it's an amazing feeling for sure.
Zach Joachim, Richmond Times-Dispatch. Guys, they never led, but they cut it to 59-58. I think about 3 minutes to go there. What were the key aspects for y'all in those last 3 minutes of lengthening out the lead and being able to hold them off?
I think just take good shots on offense. not really force anything. Actually, like run our offense and move them around and get the shots that we want. And then on defense, we knew that they were gonna go either to Haynes or Maddox. So just be there on the catch with Maddox. Not foul him on any jump shots and just force him into a contested shot. And then with Haynes, just he has a big body. He throws himself at all the defenders. We knew that he was trying to draw a foul or whatever. So just being physical with him and help dig in from the help side. Try to put doubt in his mind and just try not to foul him.
Go to David in back.
David Korn, A10 Talk. Jack, can you talk about how big of a boost the VCU fans here in DC have been all week?
A huge boost. I mean, it felt like we were in the Siegel Center right now today's last few days. Just coming out for warm-ups and looking up in the crowd and just see a bunch of gold and black. It was a great feeling to know that not only do the team and our coaches have our back, but our fans do as well. So it was a good feeling to know that the A10 tournament was close to us, so that was good for us.
Go back to Zach.
Zach Joachim, Richmond Times-Dispatch. Max, it's rare in today's college basketball world to be with the same coach throughout your college career. What has Coach Odom and his family come to mean to you personally over the course of your journey here?
Here, just in college or here at VCU? It's been a long time. 4 years. Yeah, like you said, nowadays not many people stay 4 years with the same coach, but Coach Odom has done a lot for me. He's taught me a lot. I'm super thankful and super blessed to be able to being able to go through college experience with him. But we're not done yet. We still have games. To play. So I haven't really thought about it like that in depth. Just sat and thought about it, but it definitely meant a lot.
Any further questions for the student athletes? We'll take one more in the front.
Marcus Larry, WVCW Sports. Y'all are saying job's not finished. Do you have any message for Ram Nation moving forward into next weekend?
I guess we'll see who we play. We'll be prepared. We'll be right there, and we'll do in that game what we've been doing all year. We'll be prepared. We'll be whenever the jump ball is the ref tosses the ball out. We'll be ready to go and ready to play.
All right. Thank you guys very much. Congratulations.
All right, guys.
Okay, we'll take questions for Coach Odom. We will start here in the front.
Coach, Ty Wilson from Commonwealth Times. You talked about how this game was
What? No, you want me to do that? Okay. There you go.
You talked about how this game was about from all the way from the last game last season. How were you able to kind of take what you learned from last season in its entirety at VCU and bring it into this season for the new players and the players coming back to instill in them to prepare for this big moment?
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't have to do much. I mean, they felt the emotion of that, last year. The guys that decided to come back and play another season that had COVID years, obviously Max, they sat in that locker room after that game, and it was hard to recover from that. We ended up going to the NIT, and, the mood, certainly wasn't what everybody wanted, and had worked for. We'd had a hard year. We'd had a lot of injuries. We'd had stuff that we had to deal with, that particular season that was just a little bit odd. And once we finally got it going and we were right there, to win it, we had a really bad half. And that first half, I don't think any of us going into that game felt like, we felt like we were meant to be there. And we had gone through all of these struggles, over the course of that season, and had continued to fight and continued to fight and continued to fight, and we felt we were kind of destined to do it. And Duquesne and Coach Dambrot and their team had other plans, and they came out and played a great game, and did a wonderful job down the stretch of that game to come out with a victory. And our guys were determined in this season to not let that happen again, and to have, a fabulous year, and to play every game like it's your last, and practice, and prepare in the right way. And so we have a very mature group, and, one that, is very coachable and listens. But more importantly, they really care about one another. They love one another. And so they're very connected. And you can see that, in the celebrations. You can see that on the court. There's certainly times where we don't all agree in what's going on, and we all have to agree to let something go. And that's the true team, and it's not going to be, Max's night every night, and or Joe's night every night. We need an entire group, to step up. And I thought you saw that, throughout the tournament. Jack obviously was most outstanding player, but there were other key players. Michael Bell came in again, in this game and made a big impact, at a key time. We were in foul trouble. We hadn't played that lineup all year. Michael and Jack at 3 and 4 in a center, and 2 guards. We hadn't done that, really. And, they performed well, in that moment.
Goes third row on your left.
Jay Kopstick, Big 5 Podcast. Coach, for you, this is the third program that you've taken to the NCAA tournament. And each time you've done that, it's been in the second year that you've been at these places. So to do it at different programs and do it so quickly, how does that happen?
Yeah, it's the players. It's the players and the hard work of the staff that I'm fortunate enough to work with. It's the administration. It's their vision. Obviously this place is used to winning, and the expectations are to win. Utah State was the same. You go in there and you walk into the locker rooms of these places, and you see, on the wall, the list of all the NCAA tournament years, right? And how far did they advance in that particular year? It's easy to see when you walk in the BDC and you see that Final Four from 2011, and you see all the championships and regular season championships and conference championships on the wall in NCAA tournaments. And this group was determined, the last time that, VCU had missed consecutive years was 2004. And so this team did not want to be that team, the first to do that. And so every day we walked in, we would look up at that wall, and I'd remind them when they weren't feeling great about practice or whatever, all right, well, you know what you're working for, all right? And you want to put your own stamp on this program, and you can do that because this is a special team. I mean, you look at the metrics and the numbers of this team, it's one of the best A-10 teams, like, in a long, long time from a numbers perspective. And any team can be beaten, and we were. We're beaten on the last, regular season game against Dayton. But really proud of the entire group, because it's, when you watch it on TV or you come to the Siegel and you just see the players playing and, a lot of the head coaches around the country, they get a lot of the credit, but it's all the people that, are involved in the program on a day-to-day basis that put in the work, for these kids to have the success that they so desire.
Zach.
Coach, you talked about this team's maturity throughout the season. We've talked a lot about their collective experience. You have one of the more experienced teams in the country. Did you see that shine yesterday when Loyola took the lead late and today when George Mason cut it to 1 late?
Yeah, no question. The poise was there. The confidence was there, even though we were a bit shaken, at those times. But that's part of college basketball. Like you're going to be tested, and the teams that are able to respond and dig in and play tough and play tougher, and make big plays, and not be afraid of those plays. I think you heard Max talking about that. Over there, it's like he'd missed a lot of shots in this tournament. Like there's no secret, to that. Like a bit uncharacteristic, some wide open ones. He had one in the corner, where Joe, it was an awesome play, and it just didn't go in. And sometimes you're going to have those moments in tournaments. But when it mattered most, he got the switch and he banged the shot. And then we were able to get the stops, down the stretch.
Go on the aisle.
Tyler Cronin, 3-bid league. Coach, I just wanted to know what was the message for the players going into the game for trying to disrupt Jalen Haynes?
Yeah, I mean, it was the way you disrupt is to not let him catch as easy. And so the goal was to force him to catch it further out. You're not going to keep him from catching it all the time. If he catches it into the full court, we want to pressure him. They didn't do that as much in this game. They did that some in the game in Richmond. And, Luke and some of those guys were able to pressure them, and so they had a good plan in terms of not wearing him down. But he's a go-to player for them, and he is really tough to defend. And our guys just had to do their best one-on-one, but then, try to keep him off balance with flexing and some traps occasionally because we knew he was going to catch it. The key was not letting him catch it as many times in the middle of the court, and it's not easy to do. But we've got two really athletic front court guys that once you get to the rim, they're pretty quick, they're pretty athletic, and they can bother shots. And, I think, we've been able to do that, all year in and around the basket.
Go to David in the back.
David Korn, A10 Talk. Coach, you have one of the best guard groups in the country specifically. And I know Zach mentioned sort of how experienced your team is. Can you just sort of talk about, how that group of sort of guys who all have all conference potential have been able to put the team first and been such a big part of your success?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great group. We're really fortunate, certainly in conference play, just in college basketball. If you have a good core group of guards that complement one another, and I think we do. They're not all exactly alike. They all have their strengths, and certainly shooting, defense, toughness, unselfishness. They really pass the ball to one another, and that's tough to guard. They all can drive, and when you can drive and you're unselfish and you move, you have a chance to be really good. And this group is fun to coach, and we're excited we get to coach them some more in the NCAA tournament.
Any other questions for Coach? All right. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Congrats.
Thanks.
Good luck next weekend.
Thank you.